Early on air, Quanell, we're talking about the horrifying Brittney Griner situation. She's in Russia on trial. Russia's conviction rate is almost 100%, and the few times the state loses, they can actually appeal it and get a conviction from a court that feels more responsible or more controlled by Vladimir Putin. There is no justice there. We can complain, and there's much to criticize about the American criminal justice system, but in Russia, there is no criminal justice for defendants. And it is a very serious crime to have THC oil. But what we talked about earlier is it's also a very serious crime here. I don't know the exact amount of oil she had, but it was most certainly at least a third-degree felony, which is also up to 10 years in prison, and quite possibly a second-degree felony. And no one's having this discussion about how we jail people too, and we need to fix this. A lot of people are trying to contextualize it as a LGBT issue or a race issue or a female famous athlete versus a male famous athlete. But at the end of the day, we have an American citizen who brought, allegedly, and there's a lot of evidence to support, that she brought THC oil into Russia, most likely not knowing it was such a serious offense, and was arrested for it. It is being obviously used by the Putin administration as a bargaining chip, but she committed a crime there for which she's facing the standard consequence. And it's not, no one's talking about how that's also a felony here.
But Charles, in Russia, the Russian justice system right now is being dictated to by Vladimir Putin's administration, because it's not about what she's charged with. It's about she being a prominent African-American athletic figure from America, and America is financing the enemy of Russia, Ukraine, in the war with Russia. Russia invaded Ukraine, and America is sending billions of dollars to help the Ukrainian forces fight Russians and sending military equipment to, quote unquote, kill and stop the Russian invasion. So Vladimir Putin is saying, if you want Brittany brought back home to you, then fine. They want in exchange, possibly some say a spy. I heard you earlier say an arms dealer. But what they want is a prisoner swap that America knows they cannot afford to make on behalf of Brittany. So Brittany is being used as a political tool by Vladimir Putin, because the one reason America's financing her enemy against Russian and Ukrainian war. But what I'm hoping is that we here locally don't play politics. We can do more to fight for Brittany right here at home, her hometown. A protest march should be led to the Russian consulate, and we speak directly to the Russian people at their consulate, who would take the voice of the American people back to Vladimir Putin. But she should not have said, I'm speaking about the coach of Brittany now. She said if it was LeBron James, more would be done to bring him home. Well, hell, I say to Brittany's coach, if it was Tom Brady, the Biden administration would be going crazy to bring him home. So don't try to use our brother as a symbol without substance to compare to Brittany. We know why she's being held, because it's politics based on a war with Ukraine, with Russia, that's being financed on the Ukrainian side by the American government, the Biden administration.
Well, so you don't want to use LeBron because he's black, but you're okay with using Tom Brady because he's white.
That's what our coach did.
Seems a bit
That's what our
bigoted.
coach did.
Yeah, I'm not defending the coach.
And who the hell is that white woman
Brittney
talk about
Griner,
what black person should be thrown into the discussion?
Is very famous. She's been in the news. It's been a big deal. There's been some effort by the Biden administration to intervene. It's a guy they call the merchant of death. I think they should do the prisoner swap. He's done more than half of his sentence. He's going to get out, I think, in 2025 or 2026. I think she's an important athlete. I think she is the most important basketball player in the world. But again, we need to have, instead of trying to turn every situation into how can we make this a race situation, how we can make this an LGBT issue.
That's what our coach did. That white female coach of Brittany, that's what she did by bringing up LeBron James and throwing his name into it. She sure forgot about Tom Brady. She didn't bring up his name.
Well, she brought
up LeBron James because she wanted to make it a race issue.
In gender and orientation, she touched on all that. She's clearly concerned for her friend and her athlete and trying to get her home. But at the end of the day, if a Russian brought that much THC oil into Houston, they'd be arrested and they'd look at the same charges. Now we have a better legal system here, and we need to have a more robust conversation. I think a march would be nice, but I hate to disagree with you. I don't think Vladimir Putin would care about a march in Houston. I think it's going to take the Biden administration
Well, let me
deciding
say this.
they want to do what needs to be
I
done
know
to get
for
her
a
home.
fact the consulate has a direct line to the Biden administration. If we held that protest and held it the right way to where he couldn't go home when he got ready, he would call the Vladimir Putin administration and say, wait a minute, these folks over here, these people of color, these Negroes, and went crazy, and y'all better do something because it's getting hot over here. Let's make him stay there until she come home. God damn it, he don't go home.
I'm all for great civil protests. I just think that it's really going to take an effort from the Biden administration. If they're going to do that to bring somebody home over a drug crime, then maybe in America we should look at all of the people, a tremendous number of people of color that are sitting in our prisons just for possessing personal use of drugs. None of them should be in prison.
That's why I believe that America should free Larry Hoover. I believe that America should release Larry Hoover and others like him who are rotting in America's prisons strictly because we have a racist, bigoted judicial system in this country that still wants to punish black men for crimes they never should spend this amount of time in jail for over petty issues.
It's interesting that you bring that
want
up.
to send all the white drug addicts to rehab that they're dying of fentanyl overdoses, but the crack cocaine explosion killed millions of black babies and destroyed black families, and all we did was build more prisons.
Well, how do you feel about the 200 plus murders that Larry Hoover has been tied to of young black men almost exclusively? So
tied to by a racist, lying, FBI, corrupt judicial system, and they want to tie a man in prison with no proof that he was involved in any of that through some lies by informants who will say anything to get out of jail.
Murdering young black men in.
This man been in jail since the 70s.
Okay.
What black men he been killing? He been in jail since the 70s. And I'll say this. How many black men did the American administration kill when they made a deal with the Nicaraguan Contras to exchange CIA weapons for drugs and give it to men like Freeway Ricky Ross in Los Angeles to push crack cocaine in America, the black community? It was a deal with the CIA and the drug dealers in Nicaragua. How many did they kill?
Quanell, I don't disagree with you at all on that issue, and I don't disagree that Larry Hoover served enough time, but I'd like to have honest conversations. And when people talk about Larry Hoover and they don't mention the narco-terrorism, the criminal enterprise, the sea of murders that are tied to him, it's not being honest. Sure, he's
by lying FBI agents.
Hey, I know you
tied to him with no real proof.
I know that your position is that it involves a black man.
And by
everyone's lying, but he killed black people. He killed black men.
He went to jail for killing one black man.
Okay.
Now they lying saying he killed all these other people.
But the thing is, if we just legalize drugs, and I mean everything but fentanyl and crystallized methamphetamine, and allow people to eat their own souls, but force them into rehab when they get out of it, and we take away the money to the narco-terrorists, we could fix so much in America, including the relationship between law enforcement and so many people of color.
But America does not want to fix anything when you're dealing with black and brown addicts.
No, America doesn't want to fix anything for anybody.
Black and brown addicts and poor people, America does not care.
Doesn't want to. The Democrats or the Republicans, neither of them want to fix anything, and that's the problem. And you get up here and you turn everything into race. How about we unite, Quanell? How about we unite as American people and try to demand change?
I would say this: we should unite. And it would be a beautiful thing. But let's not unite before y'all pay us reparations. Let's unite after that check. That way it would not be an inferior uniting with a superior. It'd be an equal uniting with an equal.
Okay, and how would you like those reparations to be paid?
Oh, well, don't put that on me by myself. Let's get the best and brightest black minds together in a private room without anybody else that don't look like us in that room. And we come out that room with a proposal for the American government, how that is to be paid. But I do believe we got to get land. Why? Because land is the only thing that God ain't making no more of. So give us a lot of the dirt, baby. Absolutely. And remember, when we come out with that proposal, we got over 300 years of interest plus penalties for not making the payment that they promised to make after slavery.
So again, how would you like it to be paid?
You'll be working for me.
See, that's the thing. That's what your whole argument is trying to create this
No,
new paradigm.
when y'all pay reparations,
where you have
to come to me for a job.
You complain about racism and you aspire to race-based oppression, right? You
That's
talk about
not
white
true.
people holistically.
It's
as
called
oppression.
justice.
You do it all the time.
No.
You just said you be working
It's
for
called
me.
justice.
I mean, it's
That's
absurd.
true.
That's all based
That's
on
true.
my skin color.
Because if America
it's 'cause
paid,
you're a
if
bigot,
America
Quanell.
paid black people reparations and paid us according to what she righteously owes us, she'd have to give us the whole damn country. That's a
there you
fact.
go. There
Because
you go.
we built it for free without any pay for 300
every
years.
American
Can
that
you
doesn't
imagine that
share your
300-year
race
paycheck?
should lose everything and should be subjugated to you. That sounds like horrible bigotry to me.
Is that not what the Palestinians claim happened to them?
You can turn the subject around. If you want to be a bigot, be a bigot.
No, baby.
I don't subscribe
I ain't no bigot.
to race-based
Japanese
decision-making.
Americans were paid reparations for being placed in internment camps during the American-Japanese War. I'm going to tell you something else.
America better for all Americans.
I'm going to tell you something else. Do you realize that slave owners were paid reparations also by the American government for the loss of their slaves, and even their firstborn sons was given free education and given land because the loss of their slaves was considered a loss of property?
No one in my family ever owned slaves, but
dirty,
it's a
no good,
horrifying
dirty, no down
institution, and there's
devils.
clearly a debt.
You gonna pay the slave owners reparations and won't pay the descendants of the slaves reparations? Oh hell no, I got a problem with that.
Okay, I don't know how we got here from talking about Brittney Griner and her coach and drug policy.
We evolved.
But again, I always applaud your ability to divide it by race and talk about how horrible white people are. It's an amazing talent.
There's some beautiful,
you just said that you want me to be
wonderful white
you.
people in this country who love God and who don't see color when it comes to injustice and righteousness. But it's not enough of them to change those who do see color and have no problem with injustice when they see color. It's not enough of them. We need more of them to deal with those wicked ones among them to make some serious changes in America.
I'm always impressed about your ability to holistically talk about a race of people while complaining about racism at the same time.
Charles,
it's mental gymnastics that I don't understand.
No, it's
and
not.
I hope we get to an America
where
we stop focusing
I'm just spiritually, mentally, and oratorically athletic. It's not gymnastics, but very athletic.
Okay, you're great. Top shelf bigotry.
Oh, you shouldn't say that. Bless your heart.
Earlier on television, we had a discussion about the arrest of Jayland Walker in Akron, Ohio. Well, the shooting death of Jayland Walker in Akron, Ohio, and the arrest of Robert Crimo, the monster who assassinated people at a 4th of July parade in Highland Park, Illinois, and the differences in the mechanisms of arrest. And you went on this lengthy diatribe where nowhere during the entire thing did you mention the fact that Jayland Walker shot at police while they were trying to pull him over. And everyone, not just you, there are so many people in America that are making the argument this is yet another example of how cops just want to kill black men and they treat white men with kid gloves. And it's the problem with the discussion, and I had one at breakfast this morning where a friend of mine, a person of color, had no idea that Jayland Walker on video had reached out his window and shot at the police because he's seeing entire articles and entire posts that are describing him as an unarmed man. And the truth is with Jayland Walker, the officer initiated the traffic stop, engaged in a high-speed chase. During the high-speed chase, he rolled down his window. You can see the muzzle flash. You hear the gunshot. He shot at the officers, which changed it dynamically. The gun was recovered in the car. It's very easy to tell that a gun was just fired, but not until after the shooting. So when he gets out of his car, he runs off. They try to taser him. At some point on video, he wheels around on them and all the officers start shooting. I think they shot him way too many times. I think it's horrifying. I think that, I think Bernice King made a tremendous point that we're not asking for cops to kill white men, we're asking cops to kill less black men. But when you look at the statistical data on use of deadly force, not use of force, which clearly shows bias against African American men, but use of deadly force, when you factor in for the variables of violent crime, it doesn't. And this is really just a discussion designed to tear America apart and not to improve or fix anything. Robert Crimo, his arrest, he drove a little bit, tried to get away, but not much. But more importantly, when he finally did stop, instead of jumping out of a moving car like you saw with Jayland, he pulled over, he put his hands up, and he complied with all the directives. I'm sure every cop there, I'm sure every normal human being, if they had an opportunity, if Robert Crimo gave them a reason to put a bullet in his head, that they would have enjoyed doing it, right? But the problem was he complied.
Okay,
so this is a false issue.
Charles,
yes, sir, go ahead.
You have urinated enough on my leg and tried to tell me it's rain. Let's get to the facts here.
Well, you're the one that avoids facts.
We see all the time in America how these white mass killers, these white mass shooters, when they arrested, it's so peaceful. The transition is so smooth. You would think they would be arrested for a simple traffic ticket. But yet, Mr. Crimo, Mr. Creep, when he was shooting at that July 4th parade, there were police officers at the parade also when he was shooting. When he was shooting into the crowd, there were cops doing security at that event
so
and with the crowd. So he was shooting at them also. Okay. With Mr. Jayland, Brother Jayland, in Akron, Ohio, when they pulled him over, he was wrong for firing at them, yes. But when he got out that car, that brother was totally unarmed. They tried to tase him. They didn't see no weapon. And yet, watch the video, brothers and sisters. Watch the video, America. When they shot him like a cold dog in cold blood, he's on the ground, not moving, not attempting to get up, not attempting to raise his hand. They fire over 30-something shots while he's laying on the ground. And I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, I'm telling America, if that was a dog that had bitten somebody and when he's on the ground, they shoot him that many times, there would be an outcry from the movement of PETA and all white liberal organizations demanding those cops be indicted. But when a brother is gunned down like that, shot like a dog 30-something times on the ground just because he shot at them in the beginning, justifies that excessive deadly use of force while he's still laying on the ground being shot 30-something times, not even attempting to resist. That's what we as black people are angry with. It's not defund the police. It's stop funding these cold-blooded killers that are trigger happy when it comes to young black men. But these white mass killers, they can shoot at everything and everybody and kill everybody. When they're arrested, it's almost like they're serving them a cup of tea.
You know, I get that you consume media and then you put a spin on it. If Robert Crimo III had been a black man, you would be calling him Brother Crimo right now, which is insane to me. But in America, just this year, we've had 319 mass shootings. 319. The overwhelming majority, we have had 4 since July 4th.
And how many by black men?
The actual majority of them were by black men.
Mass shootings?
Yes, mass shootings.
Mass killings in America?
Right, because you just consume.
Drive-bys and drug
I know
disputes,
you don't want the truth.
Drive-bys
I know you don't want
and
the
gang
truth.
violence, but mass shooting targeting unarmed citizens in soft spots where they go to have dinner, where they go to watch a movie, where they go to a parade, or just going to a school. Black men and black people don't go to schools. We don't go to movie theaters. We don't go to peace places where people are gathered with their families and shoot everybody for the fun of it. That's not our history.
Okay. Again, we've had 319 mass shootings just this year. The overwhelming majority aren't reported by media. There have been 4 since the July 4th. They qualify for it. All 4 of them committed by black male criminals, not black men.
This
is gang
about black violence.
Hold on. No, one of them was at a nightclub.
There was a gang conflict at a nightclub. So gang members shooting each other is mass shootings now against innocent people. I know
that you want to make this different than it is because you don't want to have an honest conversation. And here's an important thing. When you talk about white people, you talk about white men generally, and you should be talking about evil white male murderers. And white racists, when white racists talk about black men murderers, they try to talk about generally about black men, and that's racism, period, right? But we need to have honest conversations about crime. And we have a lot of violent crime that is clearly a legacy of slavery. It's a legacy of Jim Crow. It's from poverty and broken homes. But we don't talk about the statistics. We just want to condemn the cops. You really sat here and suggested no, let me finish. You sat here and suggested that the Highland Park cops didn't shoot him while he was murdering people because he was a white man. He was dressed as a woman.
I believe
how do you know that? Why wouldn't they try to stop him? He was on a rooftop. They couldn't find him. I mean, how dare you?
Why is it that when they pull over these mass murderers like they did the same white boy in South Carolina, the white killer in South Carolina, traffic stop, they get out and everything is smooth. But a black man in a traffic stop, like Philando Castillo, is told, get your license, and when he go to get his license, they shoot him multiple times. A black man get pulled over like they did in New York and get out the car, and he is complying, and he's murdered and gunned down unarmed. But these white mass killers Oh, man, they never get scratched. I'm not with that. I'm not buying that lie.
So Philando Castile was prosecuted by the DA's office in Minnesota, where you have an African-American attorney general, and they did everything they could to get a conviction. He was found, not Philando, but his murderer. I think that officer, who was a person of color, right? I think that officer absolutely murdered Philando Castile, and I think it's a horrifying tragedy. He got off.
But the the black cop who shot the white woman in the alley coming to his car, he went to prison.
Well, she walked up
he went to prison.
Shot her in the chest. But the thing is,
he went to prison.
The thing is,
but the white boy who killed Philando
Derek
Castile,
Chauvin is in prison.
He walked away free.
And the other 3 officers are in prison.
And the only reason why Derek Chauvin is in prison is because black folks took to the street and set Minnesota ablaze.
It was the same.
Because black folks took to the streets and said enough was enough. Had they not done that, he would have got off.
The white cop in Dallas, she's in prison. The white female cop, also in Minnesota, just got sentenced to prison.
Oh, wait a minute, though. But what happened when she was sentenced? What did the judge say? The judge was damn near in tears in Dallas when he sentenced that white woman for going into the wrong apartment, killing a black man just sitting on the sofa because she thought he was in hers.
She committed murder.
And the judge was damn near in tears. I don't want to do this. I hate to do this. This is so painful. But you don't cry them same tears. For the black man that she slaughtered,
I know that you just like to lie,
but
the same thing with the officer that shot the white woman that walked up the car who had called the police about the rape.
And he in the penitentiary.
That judge evidenced the same type of sorrow and emotion when they were sentencing him. The thing is, you want to reduce
20-some years in prison.
No, he didn't. He got 12 years, and then it was reduced.
He got 12 years that was reduced, but he was looking at 20-some years in prison.
Well, but that's not what he got sentenced to.
Years in
and
prison.
then it was reduced. That's the thing. You just
but
want to
the
make.
White cop
all
who
you're
killed a
seeking to do
in Minnesota
is
the
divide
same way,
America.
The same way, not guilty, go home and have a piece of chocolate cake.
Quanell, all you want to do
There's a double standard in America's justice system when it comes to black and brown prosecution. Even when the killers are wear the same uniform as cops, if it's a white cop and a black cop, they still have a different standard of justice.
And I know that this is a narrative that you want to push,
and
that we have a history of systemic racism, but in 2022, when we start talking about data and what's going on in America, you just make stuff up. You just lie. Because you want America ripped apart. What are your solutions?
In 2022,
give me any solution. Because I can talk about solutions.
In 2022, we just had some quote-unquote educators suggest to the Texas Education Agency to change the word slavery to involuntary relocation.
I think it was forced relocation. It's crazy. But we have a crazy
involuntary forced relocation. See, that's the sick mind of so many in America that are white. These people have gone crazy, and they said that they want to do it because to teach white children the truth in America's classrooms.
So you had a handful of extremist Republican educators make a proposal that was rejected. And you use that to indict all white people.
Let me say this. The extremists have now hit the Supreme Court. Them same white extremists is sitting on the Supreme Court. And I'm telling you, they're going to come at black progress too. You watch what I tell you. The same way I told others that Roe versus Wade was the real issue when Kavanaugh was being nominated in those hearings. It was about Roe versus Wade. I'm telling you right now, that's nothing but a precedent, man. They're getting ready to come after black progress also. You watch what I tell you. That conservative court, that's the Supreme Court. That's a different court, brother, like we have not seen in a very long time in America.
I like how you dance away from the discussion about Jayland Walker and Robert Crimo and the discussion about
the justice system in America.
Because you don't want to, but you don't want to have a substantive conversation about how we fix policing because you don't have any solutions.
I'm going to be honest with you,
You literally just want to rip America apart. What are your solutions?
Here's one
solution. What are your solutions?
Here's one solution. Here's a big one.
Go ahead.
We as black people got to stop looking for the police to be mother, father, parents, to be psychologists and therapists. We got to stop looking for the police to do in the black community what God demands that we as black fathers and black people do for ourselves. We got to stop looking for the police to solve all the crimes in our community when we know who a lot of these criminals are and what they're doing, and we turn a blind eye and keep our mouth shut when it's time to fix these issues and not let our community be a haven for prosperity of crime. So the police in the black community, would be more effective the minute we clean up some internal issues that we need to clean up. But right now, the police can't make any progress until we make progress, and then we'll make them make the progress.
Okay, see, I disagree. I don't think that you need to blame the black community for the tremendous amount of crime. I think you need to blame the police for not doing their job and the criminals of all colors.
I hold black people accountable when we allow it to flourish and we look for somebody else to fix it.
How do poor, law-abiding African-American citizens who are being abandoned by law enforcement, abandoned by Democratic leaders, how do they do it? Republican leaders don't care either. How do you blame the victims of crime?
When we allow drug dealers to come into our neighborhood and take over.
But how do law-abiding citizens allow it?
Let me explain. When we allow drug dealers to take over a house in our community, take over the whole street, and make the righteous people of that neighborhood live like hostages, the mafia never would let that happen. The mafia forbid it, and that's why drug dealers never opened up a dope house in an Italian mafia neighborhood, because the mafia said, we're not tolerating this. The same way they said it, we can do it too. If we demand it, we want to make that happen.
You're thinking about The Godfather, and that's a movie. That's not real
life.
No,
that's a fact.
The mafia actually got tremendously into drugs, and that was how the FBI was able to bust it.
But they said only in the black community
and the mafia
you push it,
oppressed
not in the Italian
people,
community, not the white community.
And again, the mafia
they said leave the drugs to the Negroes and not the Italians.
That was a movie.
That's the truth.
You don't want to talk about
Let me tell you something.
The mafia
the
paid off
Gambino
cops.
crime family sat down with Malcolm X in New York, and the Gambino crime family told Malcolm X in New York that we will never allow drugs to be pushed heroin in our community like you have it pushed in yours. And if you want us to stop pushing it in your community, make us do it. That's what they told Brother Malcolm.
Is not
and that's
a good
when
thing.
Brother Malcolm X.
And law-abiding black citizens aren't to blame for crime. They've been abandoned by both parties.
With Bumpy Johnson in New York to help clean up the drug problem in New York. And what did they do? The mafia used corrupt, wicked judges to come after Brother Bumpy because he hooked up with Malcolm to try to clean up heroin in the black community. So don't tell me I'm just talking about a damn movie. I'm talking about facts.
What you're not talking about is solutions for poor communities that are struggling under the weight of crime. I didn't expect you to have a solution, but thank you for talking about Bumpy and Malcolm X.
Oh, I'm giving you a history lesson.
Well, because you don't have any answers about solutions.
Oh, I got real answers. You just won't
I've been waiting for 5 years.
You don't like the real ones.
Okay.